Hello everyone, I'm Shourya, AI39 in CLAT 2025, and in today's video, I'll be discussing my methodology in approaching mock tests, attempting them, as well as in analyzing them, and hopefully you'll find these tips helpful as well. So, let's get started. Firstly, with regards to attempting the paper, two or three things here. First, please use a timer from your first mock test, ideally, or even if you've already done your first few mock tests from the next mock test, please use a timer. It is the simplest mistake to solve, and yet it is one of the gravest mistakes a lot of aspirants make. Because fortunately or unfortunately, the CLAT paper isn't such a paper jahan pe you'll have an unlimited amount of time to attempt all the questions. Not only you have to do all of that, plus you have to fill in all your details in the OMR answer sheet as well, all within the allocated 2 hours. Therefore, ideally you should be practicing your mock tests within such a simulated time limit as well. In fact, not just within 2 hours, I would say you should be practicing your mock tests trying to finish the entire paper within 1 hour and 50 minutes. Just so you have that 10 minutes as a contingency, because you don't know CLAT mein kya hoga. I mean, as a personal example, I was very confident in myself and in my preparation, but for the first 15 minutes of the paper, just because of the sheer stakes involved, I was shaking. I couldn't fill in the bubbles properly for the first 15 minutes. My hands were shaking like this for the first 15 minutes. And that will happen, and that's completely okay. But then you have to account for that. And therefore, you should be ready to confidently attempt the entire paper, not within 2 hours, but within a time slightly shorter than that. Just so you have that safety window of 10 minutes कि कुछ अगर गलत हो भी जाए, you have those 10 minutes to make things right. Then please attempt all your mock tests using a physical OMR sheet. You don't need to have the question paper as well physically, although I would suggest having the question paper physically as well, because otherwise, trust me, from my personal experience, I'm saying this, your eyes will hate you for making them stare at a white screen for 2 hours directly. It has fried my eyes for all those 8 or 9 months that I was seriously studying for CLAT. Uh, so I would suggest having the question paper in hand in real life as well. But even if you can't do that, at least have a physical OMR sheet, because that'll help you get used to filling those bubbles in properly, as well as help you account for the time taken to actually fill those bubbles in the first place, because they take a bit of time as well, and you need to be accounting for that as well. Then thirdly, please don't use a calculator for the math section. Please. This is again the easiest mistake to solve, and yet it is also one of the gravest mistakes, because it is very tempting. I know it's very tempting. I'm not somebody who is particularly strong in mathematics, and I know a lot of you aren't particularly strong as well, and that's okay. But then you have to make yourself strong for the sake of the CLAT paper. And if you rely on a calculator to do all those tedious calculations, you're only tricking yourself. Your score will increase artificially, but it is artificial, and you won't actually be able to solve all of those problems. And then when you're not able to use a calculator in the actual CLAT paper, you're screwed, because you've been relying on a calculator for all your preparation, and you can't actually do those calculations yourself. And so do yourself a favor. I know it's very tempting. I'm saying this from experience as well. I know exactly what you feel, but try to avoid a calculator as much as you can. Secondly, with regards to how to analyze your paper, firstly, please don't overcomplicate this. It is not rocket science. It is very simple. People make it more complicated than it has to be, but it's simple logic. Uh, I'll be telling you what I did, although you don't have to necessarily follow this to a T. Uh, if something else works better for you, then sure, but this is the thing that worked the best for me, and this is something you can build off of. You can then modify this as per your needs as well. So what I did, firstly, I had two Excel sheets. In the first sheet, I had the number of the mock test, the name of the institute where it's from, uh, the marks I have scored, the maximum marks. So in case it's a newer pattern mock test or PYP, it will be 120. But if in case I was attempting a previous paper which was before this pattern change, then it will be 150. So pre 2024, this will be 150. As well as then another column for the time I had taken to attempt the paper. And then if I had a rank, then a column for the rank as well. And this was first Excel sheet. Then the second sheet was I had all the sections: English, GK, legal, logical, mathematics, the number, serial number, the name of the mistake, and a tally of how many times I've made that mistake. This Excel sheet in particular was extremely insightful. The first sheet is more so just to keep a record of what you've done, but this one is more about proper analysis because it shows you directly कि तुमने क्या गलतियां की है and कितनी बार उनको किया है, and as well as that the mistakes that you've made the most frequently, so you can focus specifically on those most frequent mistakes, and after you've done that mistake you can just move on to the other mistakes. That is why you listed all of those and just added a tally afterwards to indicate how important that particular mistake is. Also, you can use your second Excel sheet as a sort of reminder of all your mistakes right before your next mock test so that you can avoid those mistakes in the next paper. Because otherwise, chances are you'll forget your mistakes subconsciously. I've forgotten most of my mistakes subconsciously as well. Uh, and so, ideally, you should have something to remind you of those mistakes and bring them from the back of your mind to the front of your mind. Only then you'll be conscious of those mistakes, and only then you'll be able to avoid them. But now you'll keep making the same mistakes again and again and again. And at that point, there's no use to analyze because you're just making the same mistakes again and again and again. And you can't be doing that. So you should ideally be revisiting all your mistakes immediately before the paper, exactly so that you don't make them during the paper. Uh, and it'll just help you keep all the mistakes in the front of your mind, uh, so that you can avoid them. Hi guys, I've come to my desktop screen here and I'll be giving you a proper demonstration of how to use the Excel sheets that I talked about earlier. And I've attached the templates for both those sheets in the description below as well. So on the screen, you can see the first sheet. This is the template that you'll be given. First, fairly simple, the serial number of the mock test, the source of the test. So, for example, uh, the name of any institute from wherever you've purchased the test. For this example, let's say I'm talking about CLAT 2025 as a mock test. I mean, you shouldn't take that paper as a mock test because it was a terrible paper, but just for the sake of demonstration, let's say CLAT 2025 I'm using as my mock test. So here I'll write consortium like that. Then date, today's date is the 8th of April, so I'll write 8th April. Next is the type of test. Here you'll write basically the serial number of the test with regards to the particular institute that it's from. So, for example, if it's a paid test series, you'll write Mock 1, Mock 2, Mock 3. If it's an AIOM, you'll write AIOM 1, 2, 3. In this case, because it's from the consortium, it's a PYP, I'll write CLAT 25 here because it is CLAT 25. So, I'll just write CLAT 25 here. Scored marks, I scored 97.5, so I'll write that here. Maximum marks is 120. But if, for example, you were using a paper from before this, before CLAT 24, so CLAT 23 or before that, you write 150 because that was the pattern back then. Percentage, I don't think I can calculate right now, so I'll just leave that. Time taken, I don't remember actually how much time I took, but let's take a random number, 1 hour and 59 minutes 59 seconds. So that will be like that. Then the rank range, my rank was 39, so I'll write R39 out of let's say 80k, whatever that was. So this is how you should be filling in or recording your mock test. At least this is what I did. But this is not the actual analysis. This is just for you to reference and track your progress basically. The actual analysis comes in the second sheet, and this is this one. Uh, you'll notice that I haven't mentioned current affairs here, and that is because, I mean, personally, I don't think there are any mistakes, quote unquote, that you can make in current affairs other than just तुमने पढ़ा नहीं था या फिर तुम्हें याद नहीं आया कि क्या टॉपिक क्या था, because it is just a recall based section. It is just a knowledge based section. So उसमें you can't really pinpoint any specific mistakes beyond just कि तुमने पढ़ाई नहीं की थी. So I haven't mentioned that here, but for the other four sections there are a lot of variety. There is a lot of variety in the mistakes you can make. So for example, English, the most common mistake I made was I didn't notice the tone of the passage, uh, or I had made some error in that. Like maybe I had said it was I don't know, neutral rather than it was being melancholic or something like that. Uh, and you'll notice कि I've made my tallies here as well कि मैंने इसको इतनी बार किया, इसको इतनी बार किया. It is a small number. That's because I just started doing this very late in my preparation, like just the last month of my preparation. I only just then discovered how to do this. So that's why the number is small. But if you do it from the beginning itself, you'll see कि बहुत बड़ा number हो जाएगा once 5 or 6 months have elapsed. So just for English, or for example in legal reasoning, not reading the full question, this was a really silly mistake, but it was a mistake nonetheless, because I had a tendency of just expecting the question to be based on like the middle part of the question. I wasn't really keen on reading the entire question, and the problem then is that the end of the question often has some very, very important information, and therefore if you don't read it, you're attempting the question based on incomplete information, and that is going to cost you marks. So this is a really silly mistake, but yet it is a very grave mistake as well. For logical reasoning, for example, application of contextual information, I understood the contextual information. I understood कि क्या पूछा जा रहा है. I understood कि कहाँ से वो पूछा जा रहा है. But then I was not able to apply it correctly. And this is actually how most these problems are going to be in all four of these sections, because these sections again aren't knowledge based, they are application based. So ज़्यादा गलती application में ही होंगी. And the problem with this is you can't make a blanket declaration कि ऐसी ही गलतियां होती हैं, because these questions, they are unique. Every question is unique. And so तुमने वहाँ पे उस specific logic में, उस specific facts में क्या गलतियाँ की हैं वो तुम्हें ही पता होगा. Because as I said, every single question is unique. Every single question has a slightly different way of applying things. And so the way to analyze your paper is just to see कि तुमने question कौन सा attempt किया है, तुमने कौन सा option choose किया है और सही answer क्या है. Then why is that answer correct and why is your answer incorrect? Try to ask yourself that question. If you were in the shoes of the exam setter, why would you pick that option as correct rather than your option? And usually that'll tell you कि तुमने क्यों गलत किया है. अगर नहीं हो रहा है, then look at the solution given. It'll explain things as well. अगर वो भी नहीं कर रहा है, then chances are the question is wrong. And that is a very legitimate possibility, because many questions are wrong in almost every single mock test. I say this in many videos again and again, but that is because it is important. You don't have to beat yourself up over a low score, because बहुत बार questions गलत होते हैं, बहुत ज़्यादा questions गलत होते हैं. This is something that frustrated me a lot, because I just couldn't analyze things, because analyze skill कुछ है ही नहीं, अब बस question ही गलत है. A lot of times the reasoning just doesn't make sense in your mock tests, and you need to be able to identify that and then tell yourself कि हाँ, यहाँ पे मैं गलत नहीं हूँ, यहाँ पे question गलत है. And ऐसा एटलीस्ट हर पेपर में 5 से 10 या 10 से 12 क्वेश्चंस होंगे, एटलीस्ट हर एक पेपर में ऐसे होंगे. मॉक टेस्ट में, पीवाईबी में थोड़ा सा कम होगा, बट मॉक टेस्ट बहुत एरर्स के साथ आते हैं, स्पेशली वंस द पेपर कम्स क्लोजर टू यू, लाइक अराउंड अक्टूबर नवंबर, जब मॉक टेस्ट की फ्रीक्वेंसी बढ़ जाती है, देन द exam setters, the people who make the mock test, they are forced to make more mock tests, and therefore the time they're able to put into proofreading every single paper is less, and therefore the chance of errors is higher. So my point with all this is key, the way to analyze is to look at the question, look at your option, look at the given correct option, and then try to see the difference between them, and try to see कि ये ऑप्शन क्यों गलत है एंड ये ऑप्शन क्यों सही है. अगर वो भी नहीं हो रहा है, then probably the question is wrong, and that is a very very real possibility. So that is how you should be analyzing things. And with that, that's all from my side. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing to my channel and pressing the bell icon as well. If you have any suggestions, queries, doubts, please put them in the comments below. I'll answer them either in the comments themselves, or if I think they deserve a separate video of their own, I'll make a separate video for them as well. And with that, that's all from my side. Bye bye.